Hello, YouTube. How's everybody doing? I haven't made one of these videos for my channel in a long time. My channel's name is called Derek Fixes Your Life because, I get into so many different projects. I get into carpentry, plumbing, electricity, welding, and beekeeping. So my whole intention in doing this channel was to be able to give you guys out there just short tips on things that I have learned to try to help make your life easier. Thus, Derek Fixes Your Life. But actually, my big passion is Bible study. And I'm going to put a link here in case you want to go to my other channel, which is over on Rumble. I don't post those videos here on YouTube because some of the things I get into probably would not be welcome here on YouTube, frankly. But anyway, I'll post that link. What I'm here to talk about today is to show you how to build a bee vacuum or a swarm vacuum. Again, I haven't posted a video in quite a while because I started out making videos, car repair. I've got some John Deere tractor repair videos, but they're too long. And YouTube, is telling me I need to verify my account or something. I don't know. It's a little too complex for me. So I'm just sticking to shorter videos if I could do something 10, 15 minutes. So today I built a swarm vacuum and I'm going to show you how to do it, why I did it, how it works. Everything I did here was, for me, it was about a little less than $100 to build this. The reason why I did this swarm vacuum is because in the springtime, with my own beehives, I've had swarming issues. You try to prevent them, but they happen. So I'm going to show you a quick little video of my bees actually swarmed a couple of years ago. As you will see in the video, I saw that they were kind of clumping up on the back side of the hive. It was a warm time of year, and honestly, I just thought they were bearding, and so just a little lesson for you. If it's really hot and you see your bees bearding at the entrance to the hive, that's probably all it is bearding. But in this case, they were all at the back side of the hive, and they ended up the next day swarming, which I didn't realize. They went into my apple tree. I've got a little apple tree not too far, so I was able to catch them fairly easily. By the way, if you're wondering at the back side of the hive what that roll of barbed wire was for, I was also having some problems with some kind of predator kept going there every night and was pulling out the bottom board and was trying to get into the hive through the screen underneath the bottom, above the bottom board. So I had a roll of barbed wire and I set it up there where, they'd stick their little paws with the barbs if they tried to get into my beehive. So that's why that was there, and that's just another quick little tip for you. But these bees would go into my apple tree, and it wasn't that hard to catch them. I took a 5-gallon bucket, with a brush, and I just kind of swept them into the 5-gallon bucket with the brush. But I was thinking, how much easier would it have been if I would have actually had a bee vacuum to catch these guys? It would have been a lot easier. And I also thought, what if they swarm and they get up high enough up in a tree where I'm not able to just stand there with a bucket? What if I had to climb a few steps up on a ladder? How would I accomplish that? So that was the whole idea of why I decided to build a bee vacuum. I've seen a lot of videos on YouTube. They make commercially available bee vacuums, for a few $100s. Not that I can't afford a few $100s, but I'd rather do it cheaper if I can. And also the big impediment that I saw with the ones that are commercially available, as well as a lot of the designs I've seen on YouTube, is they rely on a plug-in vacuum, something that is operates off of a 110 power cord. And I thought to myself, where my bees were in the apple tree, there's no electricity out there. So I thought I'd really like something battery powered. So that was the genesis of this idea. So let me show you how I built it and how it works, and you can make it yourself, like I said, for the same amount of money. It starts out with one of these. This is a battery-powered Bauer vacuum. It takes a battery just like this, 20 volts. You can get them in 3 amp, 5 amp, or 8 amp. I've got mostly 3 amp and 5 amps, I think. 5 amps seems to work the best. I'll show you at the end. We did a bee rescue with this a couple of days ago, and it actually took 2 5 amp battery, to kind of get through the whole thing. That was ample power. I ran out of one battery. I grabbed another one because I have several of these. Now, when I say that this thing was built for under $100, for me, it was under $100. For you, it might be a little bit more. The reason why is I have a lot of the Bauer line of tools. You can get these at Harbor Freight. I'm not here doing a commercial for Harbor Freight, or they'll probably put one of them at the beginning of this video if they figure out what I'm doing. But I'm not trying to advertise their stuff. I just happen to have a lot of these Bauer tools from Harbor Freight. I started out with like a cordless drill and a cordless circular saw, and just started adding on, and they all use these 20-volt batteries, which is great. So if you don't have any Bauer tools, I'll show you the price. I'll put up a screenshot so you can see the price. I think this was like $59 if I remember right. That's the most expensive part, is this vacuum. The batteries and the charger will be extra if you don't have them. Now, I happen to have them because I've got other tools. So I've got other chargers, I've got other batteries. So I didn't have to buy any of these up front. If you do, I'll also put a screenshot so you can see what the costs of those would be if you decide to build this. But for me, it was just the vacuum. Now, if you take this vacuum and you start just with this vacuum, pop it open real quick, get the hose out. If you start with just this vacuum, you could make a simple BVAC just out of this vacuum alone, without any other parts, without this other box that I'm going to show you what it does in a minute. What you could do is you could drill a hole through this, and as you can see down here on this side, I've got a hole. It's an inlet to let some air flow through. I'll show you how that works in a minute. But if you reduce the vacuum by drilling a hole and covering it with some screen, you've got a B vacuum right there. It'll suck them up, and it won't damage them. The whole idea is to reduce the vacuum pressure by drilling a hole, putting a screen in there so that it's not sucking so hard that it hurts them. You have to have a very gentle suction. Me personally, I didn't want to do that because for a couple of reasons. First of all, I wanted this vacuum for other things. I can use it as a shop vac. Like I said, I have plenty of other tools, and so I can use this as a shop vac. But also, I just didn't like the idea that it was kind of a small, confined area. I mean, it would work for a small swarm, but it's kind of a small, confined area, and it's black. So I thought, if it's summertime, sun's beating on this thing, it's probably going to be too hot for the bees. So I didn't like that. I decided to do something else with other parts. So let me set this to the side for just a minute. We'll get back to that and its function. By the way, just another quick tip for you, just because I had it laying here. Here's just another quick tip. Very easy thing. Your Hive tool. If you're out working in the bee yard, if you get a little $1.50, whatever it is at Walmart parts tray, okay, you can see that's magnetic. It's for putting your nuts and bolts in. It's got a big magnet on the back. Just stick it in your pocket. I've got one in this pocket. I've also got one down in this pocket. Then you can just take your Hive tool. There you go. Walk around the bee yard and keep your Hive tool with you. That's just a little extra for you. So now what we've got this is the container part of the bee vacuum. Okay, so has a sealing lid. And again, I will show you a screenshot. I'm going to give you a screenshot for, I got this at Walmart. I think it was like $13 or $15. I'll put a screenshot on here so you can see exactly what it is, the SKU number, whatever. I have a hose, and this hose is from another vacuum that I had that I just, parted out and used it. We'll get to this in a minute. This may be a little bit different for you. You might have to do something different than me, but I'll tell you what to do when we get to it. I've got some straps and a backpack, and I will show you what that's for in just a little while. And I've got some frames of somewhat drawn foam. I've got them wrapped up to kind of keep the critters out of them because it's the end of winter here. I'm just going to set these off to the side. And then we've got the container itself. Okay, so here's how I basically constructed the container, and I'm going to show you how easy this is. So you start off with your, this Rubbermaid tote that you've got. So we've got this container, and what you're going to need is you need an inlet. As you can see with this inlet, I've got screen on it. It's just plain old aluminum, like for your screen door. So there's some screen. All it is, see if I can show you here. All it is it's a plumbing fitting. There it is. All it is a plumbing fitting. This is, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's 1.25 inches. And what I have done is I drilled out a hole. You're going to use something like that, a hole saw. So I've drilled out a hole in the container so that I can slide this plumbing fitting in, okay? And sorry, this is kind of hard to manipulate the camera here. So you're going to slide this plumbing fitting in, and then the way you're going to seal this in here is I've got electric tape on both sides of it, inside and out, to make sure that it's not going to slide back through. And then what you do to really seal it in there, and this is how you're going to get your screen to stick on it and how you're also going to get it to stay, is if you could see all around there, that's hot glue, okay? Like I said, I've got a lot of the Bauer tools, so I used a hot glue gun. You could get a hot glue stick. Sorry about my camera work here. You get a hot glue stick and you just run beads and beads and beads of hot glue, both inside and outside. That's your inlet. You also have to do one more thing to your inlet, okay? On this side here, in order to get it to work with the Bauer vacuum, on this side here, on the inside of the inlet, I've actually got some Gorilla Tape, and it's double-sided tape. That reduces the size of the inlet so that you could take, this is from the Bauer vacuum, you take the Bauer vacuum and you plug it in there, and it's going to fit just right and it's going to stay. But this is a little smaller than that plumbing fitting. I think the plumbing fitting, if I remember right, I think it's 1.25 inches. You'll have to just measure and make sure. It's either 1 inch or 1.25 inches, but I'm pretty sure it's 1.25 inches. But if you took 1.25 inches, just a coupler is all that is, and you go to plug that in, it's too loose. It won't stay. So all I did was take a little bit of Gorilla Tape, double-sided tape, and I line the inside of it. Only here's the issue. Since it's double-sided, do not peel off the backing. That's very important. If you peel off the backing, you'll get this stuck in there. It'll never come out. But what you do is you take it, you cut a little bit of a longer length than what is needed. You install it with the backing side, the unsticky side down until you get the exact measurement. You cut it with a pair of scissors, and then you flip it around and put the sticky side down so it sticks, and leave the backing on so that it's not sticky. You know, see, I can run my fingers on there. It's not sticky. That'll give you the perfect inlet to take your hose and just plug in, and it'll stay because that's the perfect size. Okay, so that's your inlet. And I'll set this up in a minute, show you how that works. That's your inlet. That's how your suction is going to suck, bringing the suction in. So that's how you're going to bring your bees in through the suction. Now let's talk about the other side. So on this other side, what we've got here is, again, we've got two openings. Same thing. I used a little bit of a bigger hole saw on this side. And by the way, the mandrel's removable, so I was able to use it on my other hole saw. But you've got these two inlets, okay? Or two, yeah, inlets, outlets, I don't know. Anyway, what these are going to do is, this is what you're going to connect your vacuum hose to actually suck your bees up. This side is going to be your reduction, so that you can reduce the suction so that you're not so strong that you're getting your bees, you know, in too fast that you're hurting them. And what you're going to do here is, so you take your hole saw, okay? You drill through here with your hole saw. Then what you're going to do is you take a big enough piece of screen, you goop up the edges with hot glue. While it's still hot, lay your screen in there, okay? If you're afraid of getting burnt by the glue, because I've done that, I've stuck my fingers in it and fingertips get a little burnt. It is very hot. What you could do is lay your screen in there and then take like a toothpick or something and press it down until that hot glue gets all embedded inside your screen, and then lay another bead of hot glue on top of it, just for good, you know, good measure. It's cheap, why not? Then what you're going to do is you're going to take, spin this around so you can see the other side. What you're going to do is you're going to take that little piece of plastic that you just cut out of there. Okay, you can see it here. There's that little piece of plastic that you just cut out of here. Drill a little 1/8 hole in it through the container and through the edge of the plastic, and put a pop rivet in it. Now you'll have to put washers in between. You put a washer in between your plastic and in between the container, and put a washer on the back side of the rivet. And what that'll allow you to do now is you can manipulate the airflow. You can open it all the way, and that decreases your airflow. You can close it all the way, and then, you know, that increases the suction. So that's for that. Now for the actual vacuum outlet, again, same thing. So there's the screen, to reduce your suction. This is your vacuum outlet. Okay, this is a little bit larger of a fitting. I think this is 1.5 inches, if I remember right. This is where it's going to get tricky for you guys out there, because the reason I put this together the way that I did was I had this other vacuum hose off of another old vacuum that I kind of, salvaged. What I discovered was that this fitting, this one here, I think, like I said, I think it was 1.5 inches. It fit almost perfectly for this inlet of this other vacuum hose that I had. Now, what I had to do to modify this one, same thing, drill a hole, put your fitting in, your coupler, hot glue around both sides of it, tape around both sides of it just for mechanical interference so that it doesn't slip out of the hole. And then what I had to do with this one is I just wrapped a little bit of that Gorilla tape around the edge here. I kind of stretched it a little bit. And then that I did remove the backing, and I put an additional layer of electric tape around it so that it would stay smooth. That became the perfect, perfect size for this hose. This is where you're going to have to get creative, because you're probably not going to have an extra hose laying around like I did. What you're going to want to do is just, whatever works for you. You might do this same thing, and then find a piece of like pool hose or something that you could clamp on here. That would be fine too. Mine, I just happen to have, which was good for me. I will say this much too. Also, understand something about suction. Okay, so this hose is the one coming from the Bauer, the vacuum suction unit. This is the hose for the bees. They're about the same size. This one I think is actually a little bit smaller. And the point being that if you use a larger inlet than you do the suction side, it's going to reduce your suction a little bit more, which is good. You don't want to go in full blast suction that it's going to kill your bees. So there's that part of it. The only other thing that I did to modify this crate is, if you notice, I had a couple little pieces of skinny steel rod. And what I did was I measured, again, I'll show you the link for this crate so that you see exactly the size of it and everything. But I measured it out, and I just drilled 2 small holes on the sides of the box, ran the steel rods through, hot glued both sides to seal the air out. And what that did was, as you saw earlier, it allowed me a place to put some frames in there. I could put frames up to deep frames and just hang them in there. So, if I was catching a swarm and I wanted to throw, 2 or 3 frames of drawn comb in there, it would give the bees a place to already get right on, and, no worries, So that's pretty much, I'll leave this in here just so you can see, that's pretty much how this thing is constructed. I'm going to put it all together now so you can kind of see how it all fits together. Oh, one other thing. This is just a piece of, again, I think it's 1.5 inches. I can't remember. It's just a piece of pipe. And what I did on this one was I took a piece of pipe, and as you can see, I'll bring it over here where you can see better. I took a piece of that aluminum screening, and I just hot glued it on the end of the pipe, wrapped it around with, some electrical tape. And the reason I did this is because after the swarm is caught, after I catch the bees, I take the vacuum part off. I can just take this, plug it right into my vacuum inlet so that the bees can't get back out this way while I'm moving them or putting them wherever I want. So in other words, I could transport this whole crate. I could take this crate, take the vacuum off of it. Once the bees are in it, I could just plug it back up. I could transport this whole crate wherever I want, throw it in the back of my pickup truck, or, it's got a seal. So if you feel comfortable in the back seat of your car, I know I've done stuff like that before. You just got to make sure they don't get out. So that's all this is for. Let me put this together and I'll show you how it works. So again, first thing, you've got your sealing lid, goes on there, snaps on. Okay. You've got your vacuum line. This is what your bees are going to get sucked up with. Again, this may be different for you. Mine just goes on. I've got it designed that way. You might end up having to put a fitting in there with a piece of pool hose or something else, some other kind of big hose. Don't use anything smaller. If you use something smaller, that's going to increase your suction. If you use something larger or the same size, it'll either keep the suction the same or it'll decrease it. So just don't use smaller. Don't try to figure this thing out and suck them up through a garden hose or something, because you will actually increase the suction doing that way. that all has to do with like Bernoulli's principle and, you know, stuff like that. That's too complicated to talk about. So you'll have to figure that part out for yourself. Figure out a hose for your bee unit. Then what you're going to want to do, all you got to do, set your vacuum on top. Again, this hose plugs right into this end. Okay. The only other thing that I do with this guy right now is one of these. Okay, I just take a strap. This thing is basically just, you know, I cut it down. You'll get it a little bit longer. I think this started out as like an 8-foot strap. I just run it through the middle handle of the vacuum. Catch the hook on itself. Pull the strap tight. Now you got one unit. Okay, so you can wander around and, you know, switch is on top. One other thing I did for this unit that I'm going to show you, and this was just, again, something very cheap. If you want to try it, go for it. If not, you know, I'm going to take the battery, drop the battery in here, just so you can see how this works. If you want to try doing something like this, that's fine. If not, you know, you've got a unit now that's ready to go. The other thing that I did was, again, I'm just thinking ahead and thinking, what if I have to go up a ladder a little ways to use this thing? So what I did was I got myself a cheap $10 backpack. I unzipped it so I could get on the inside. I'm not sure if I can show you what's inside, but what I did was I made a couple little holes in the bottom. And I took 2 of these ratchet straps. I ran them through here. I tied them off on the inside so that what I can do, if I want to, I can take this backpack and strap it on. Same way, you know, you just run through here. And then I can strap it on me if I had to climb up a tree, you know, in a ladder, of course. You know, if I don't think I'm going up, 20 feet into a tree. But, if I had to go up a, 6-foot ladder or something, I would certainly feel comfortable doing this. This thing is lightweight enough that it's not heavy, even with some bees in. So I'm going to include a video and show you this thing in action before we close this out. So one other thing that I wanted to tell you before I close the video here in a second, how it works. But one thing I wanted you to be aware of is one thing I noticed when I built this is where the actual suction inlet is, and it comes into here. Remember I showed you that it's all covered with screen because you don't want the bees actually getting into the vacuum unit, okay? And when we use this, what I noticed was occasionally the bees will cluster up on that. I don't know why, again, the suction's not that great. I mean, it is coming in through here, but, they cluster up on here. And sometimes you'll start noticing there's no suction because there's too many bees near the actual suction. What you can do, all you have to do is kind of give it a little bump, just like if you were installing a bee package. I'm sure most of you are familiar with installing a package of bees. You kind of give them a little bump sometimes to get them out of the package. Same here. Just give it a little bump. They'll land down on the floor, and you can go right back to vacuuming. I'm trying to think if there's something I could do to maybe, invent like a little windshield wiper on there on the inside that I can kind of do it. But, bumping it's fine. I don't think that the only issue I would personally have is if I had it on the backpack and I was up in a tree or something like that, then yeah, that's going to be pretty hard to try to, bump them down when you're up in a tree with it on your back. Other than that, I think it should be just totally fine. So anyway, hope that helps. You'll see the video of it in action now. And all I will say to you now is just if you enjoyed this, I don't do many of these YouTube videos. If you enjoyed this, like it, subscribe to my channel if you're of a mind to, and share it. But again, I'd really appreciate it if you check some of my other videos out at my Rumble page. I'll post the link here because that's my real passion, to try to help people, is to teach the Bible. And that's really how you're going to fix your life. If you want, something that's really going to straighten things out. But in the meantime, I like to make these videos with helpful hints. And so I hope this has helped you out. Hope you've enjoyed it. And if you have, then all I ask is just, like the video, share it, subscribe it, go migrate over to my other channel. So God bless you. And I hope you have as good a luck with catching these bees as I have.